Probably not.
Yeah.
Can you fix a lawnmower? Yeah. If robotics help you fix it, it gives you mechanical ability, right? Okay. But I want to emphasize to you, there are lots of jobs out there that you do not need a college education for, and I'm not trying to put the college down, but you've got lots of jobs that you can do out there to earn really good money without having to actually have a college degree. If you get an opportunity and that's what you want to do is go to college, that's fine. But what I'm trying to tell you is you really don't need to do that. Why would you want a college education? Let's go on to next. Because I think
To make more money.
Oh, okay. So you want that, huh? Make money. Can you make more money with a college education than without it? Not necessarily. There are a lot of jobs that people have that they make more money than people that have a college education. So, yes, ma'am.
To be a more well-rounded person, because in college you get more variety than just
That's
specific
true.
one.
It maybe give you a little broader perspective. So I think it's good from that standpoint. Okay. So make money.
Learn more stuff.
More jobs. Okay. Now, let's go to this one. What are some of the applications of robotics? And I think we've covered some of those. So I think we've kind of covered that field. Let's go on. What I want to do is show you now. I went through and pulled some stuff off of the web. And one of the areas that I really get excited about is stuff that JPL does going to Mars. I think that's the coolest stuff, okay? But you got to realize that they build rovers and they use robotics a lot, but they are not really terribly smart robotics because people have to operate. But let's go through and look at this one. Okay, so on Mars they launched a number of rovers. And this is one. Can anybody tell me what they think the name of this rover might be?
Wally.
Wally. Okay, Wally didn't make it to Mars yet. I'm sorry to tell you that. Yes.
Wasn't it the Beagle 2?
Pardon?
The Beagle 2 or something?
They launched two of them at the same time. One of them was called Spirit, and the other one was called Opportunity. Is that right? Now, I only know this because I just looked them up. Okay, so here's a picture of one of them. They're both alike, but they landed in two different places on Mars. How did they land? Does anybody remember how these particular rovers landed? What was the scheme to land them? They just throw them out of the thing they come in on and hit?
They're inside of a thingy.
A thingy? Would you describe thingy?
It's like a bar or something. Air balloon or something.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, this is the scheme that they used.
And then they bounce and bounce.
They started out here after they got up to the Mars area. Then what they did is they started them coming down. And here is it coming through the atmosphere, and you see all the flames behind it because there's atmosphere up there. Once it got through the atmosphere, they deployed a parachute, and then they kicked off the heat shield. And here it come down like this. And then what happened here is they deployed this thing below the main device here, and you can see it hanging down. And right down here they used some jets to slow everything down to a certain point. And right here what they did is they dropped this thing encased in a big bunch of balloons, and then this thing flew off out of the road. It come down and went boing, boing, boing. Hit, deflated the balloons, and then the rover drove off. So this is what the balloons look like. Okay, so this is just testing the balloons. Okay? And this is testing the parachute, and when I pulled this picture up, I couldn't figure out what that was there. But it's apparently when they're testing this thing, there's a skydiver up there watching it to make sure everything works right. So how would you like to be the skydiver? That'd be be cool, huh? Okay, and here's another illustration of the thing coming down and landing. And here's after it hits. This is actually a real picture after it hits. And you can see the deflated balloons around here. And you can see that the rover is all folded up. And see this thing right here, what that is a roll of kind of like a metal. And they undo these clamps. And what it does is it gives you a little platform, and then the rover raises up, puts up all of its arms and everything, and then it drives off.
Who's taking the picture?
I think they had a camera on the lander. I was there, but no. Okay, so that's what it looks like when it gets all unfolded. Now you see the solar panels are up on the top that pick up the sun. This is a radio antenna, and this is a stereoscopic camera. I'm not quite sure what this is, but this thing is a little drill down here that they come up and they drill holes in rocks to see what's inside of the rocks. And this is one of the places that Opportunity explored. They landed it pretty close to this big crater, and they run it around the edge of the crater and back and forth, just exploring what everything was like there. Now they had to be awfully good just to make sure they didn't run it off into the crater, but they were pretty careful. And this is actually a satellite photo taken of Opportunity's tracks from a satellite that's orbiting Mars. And what they do with these rovers is they actually transmit information up to the satellite, and then the satellite sends it back to the Earth. Does anybody know how long it takes for a signal to get from Mars back to the Earth?
2 days. A year.
Yeah, it's in a matter of minutes, but that's a long time to wait if you want to do things. Now, the way this rover works is that people at JPL say, okay, take a bunch of pictures all around you. And then what they do is they get those pictures back, and they have, one of the guys down there has developed a model on a computer that looks exactly like the rover, and he's programmed everything into this model that duplicates the rover. And then the people decide, well, what do we want it to do? Do we want it to go forward 2 feet and see that rock and drill a hole in it, or do we want it to go ahead a little bit and to the right? And so this guy feeds this information into the simulator that he's got and see if it does what they thought it would do. And that's what they do every time they move the rover. They go through this process. So it is not really a very smart rover. It's what's called teleoperated. Okay. This rover was designed to operate for 6 months, but they're still operating it after more than 3 years. Why?
Because they can't work with this.
Okay. Solar panels get covered with dust and cut the light off from generating power. That's what they knew was going to happen. But one thing they didn't count on was, what's this thing here in the background?
Sandstorm.
It's called a dirt devil. Anybody ever seen a dirt devil? Yeah. Well, you don't want to be standing around when those come through. They're not very big, but you'll see them out in hot places. They're just swirling around and dust is going around. It looks like a hurricane of some kind, except it's a little one, right? Well, what they found out is that there are enough of those that come around. Once in a while, one of them would come over the rover, and what do you think it would do to the dust on the solar panels?
Take it off.
It blew it off. They didn't count on this. And so they're operating now much longer than they expected, just because these little dirt devils come along and blow the dust off the rover. Okay, so the dirt devils blow it off of the rover. But after all this time, one of the rovers has a problem. Do you know what the problem is? It's what? It's got a broken leg. Is that what you said?
No.
Well, that's what you were thinking, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's got these wheels on it, and it has, as you noticed before, it has 6 wheels. But what's happening on the right there?
Looks like broken.
Yeah, that wheel is broken. The motor that's inside of it no longer works. So when they drive along, it just drags that wheel. They got 5 others that do it. But you know what? It turned out, this was an interesting thing. By dragging this wheel and scraping the dirt away, they found things that they didn't know was there. So I don't know about those JPL guys. Are they really that smart? I don't know. Okay, how about a new lander? Not a rover, but it's an in-place experiment that's looking for signs of water. It's called Phoenix. How many of you have ever heard of Phoenix? Yeah, okay. Phoenix is a lander that went to Mars. It had a new way of landing. And what this did was the following. Instead of coming down and kind of got through the atmosphere like the other, but instead of coming down as a big balloon, it was a fully powered lander that had thrusters on it. And what it did is landed like this. Now, it doesn't have any wheels on. It's not going anyplace. But that's the way it landed. Okay? And here's kind of an illustration of it. Not a very good one, but you can see the arm that goes out there. And this is a real picture that the lander took of this arm. And what they're doing is digging a trench. And again, they're looking for water. Why do they want to find water on Mars? Yeah, well that, and also if they go to Mars, it allows them to get oxygen, it allows them to get hydrogen, which they can use for a fuel to get back from Mars. They have to process it there. Okay, so Phoenix did find signs of ice. It's now silent because it's in the Martian winter, all right? The next mission to Mars is called the Mars Science Laboratory. How many have heard of that? Okay, good. This is an exciting thing. Now, here's another way. You think they got one way that they can land things. What do? They got to do it different every time so they can redesign it completely, right? And that's where your taxpayer dollars go. Okay, so here it comes in just like it did before. But what's really interesting here is, look, this thing right here lets the rover down on some ropes and then cuts the ropes and then it flies away.
Where does it go?
Just over some place and crashes. They just fly it away just to get it out of the road. Okay. Now, when do robotics and rockets work together? Well, you've kind of seen some examples there. If you're going to get to Mars, what are you going to fly on? A rocket. If you're going to build a rover or use robotics, what have they got to withstand while they take off? Heat. Vibration is one of the things. And maybe heat. And acoustics, lots of noise. For some reason, they've never made any rockets that were not noisy. And I think that's because the rocket guys are kind of like the guys on the fire engine. They want to run around with a siren on. And the rocket guys want to make as much noise as possible. And that guy with the motorcycle that lives next door can't do anything except to go rah, rah, rah. Okay. So, robotics and rockets work together. I'll just go on here. Here's a program that we're involved with that uses robotics and rockets. We go out to a place in Nevada, and here is the Idaho border. Here is the California border, and this is Nevada. About right in, well, there's Lake Tahoe. About right in here someplace is Reno. What we do is we go out here to a little place called Fermi. We go up past Pyramid Lake, and we go up to this valley up here. And this is a lake bed that has water in the winter, but in the summer it dries out. It's very, very flat. Okay, and this is what it looks like from the picture above. In fact, how many of you heard of the Burning Man Festival? Ah! That's more popular than electronics and robots. Anyway, that's where they have the Burning Man. Have you been out there?
Yeah, I go every year, yeah.
Oh, good. All right. So you're familiar with Black Rock.
Great.
The most wonderful place in the world. Actually, it's pretty darn cool. This is what it looks like when we go out there to fly rockets. And what they do is they set up what they call the flight line. There's a fence right along here. And then here and out here farther, they have rocket launchers. And then everybody sets up their tent here to prepare their rockets and their cars and everything here. And what you hope when you launch a rocket does not come back down in this area here. Although I have seen some of them do that. And this is what it looks like at the tents. What we do is we have a rocket here that we put what we call a payload in. And this payload is just this, what we call this canister right here. And you put things inside of it, and you put it in the rocket. You can see stuffing things in there, and that's a Coke can. And what they do is build electronics in Coke cans, and then they put parachutes on. Okay, and this is what happens. This thing goes up. It has a computer, and the text when it's up at apogee, the highest point, it blows this thing apart, and this center section here that floats down on a parachute blows this canister out, and the canister is on a tether, and it goes like this. It comes out, the tether's loose. Let's see how this experiment works. You want to help me? Okay. You're the rocket. You hang on to this. Come right over here. And I'm the explosion. Are you ready? We'll see what happens. Are you ready? Hold it. Just don't hold this part. Just hold that part. Good and hard, because I'm going to throw this thing back in the audience. Hold it right here. No. Then throw it at you. Are we ready? Are you ready? You don't act too sure. Are you really sure? Do you want to come and hold him so I don't throw him here? Come on up. Get around behind him. Come on, get around behind him and hang on to him. Because I might just get around your arms around his waist. Come on. You don't want to hold his waist? Okay, we'll hold his shoulder. Hard. You know, if he flies, it'll be your fault. Okay, are we ready? Boy, this is pretty tough. Are you ready? Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Okay. We'll count down. 3, 2, 1. Okay. And my Coke dispensing machine come out. And there's my parachute. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you being involved in a lot. This comes out and the parachute opens and this thing floats down. Now, why do we do that? Well, we've got students that want to build satellites, and this duplicates launching a small satellite because there's that rough rocket ride, and actually the worst part of it is when they come out of this thing, because it comes out and just snaps them out. That parachute pops open, and in fact, one of the interesting things is one of the students always watch these up in the sky. It's up pretty high, but they watch the parachutes come down. And when they land, then they drive out in their car to pick them up. And they can be out there several miles. And I noticed one of the students went out in a car and come back, and they had their CAMSAT like this, and the parachute, but there was nothing inside of it. He said, what happened to the inside of my CAMSAT? And then about 10 minutes later, there was some guy come in and he had this thing in his hand and all these wires sticking out of it. And he said, I found this thing out in the desert. What the heck is it? Well, it was the inside of that CAMSAT that when it come out, there was such a jar on it to just spit the insides of it right out. So it's a pretty rough ride. So anyway, let's go on. What time is it? How much time do I have? 9:03. Okay. So what I want to do is show you what a launch looks and sounds like. I've got the sound on here. Hopefully that will work. Is the audio turned up? So we're out here in the desert. Launch the rockets. And we used to do these cans. And we have a bunch of Japanese students that come over with us. And they said, you know, we're tired of throwing these cans up in the air and they're coming down because we can get them to work now. And this was after about 3 years. They said, we want a new challenge. And what we want is we want a challenge to fly these things in this carrier, have the whole carrier, and they have to come down and autonomously get back to this flag, this little rover, within 50 meters of the flag, autonomously. So here's one that they flew finally in 2006. After 4 years, here's one they flew, and this is the data recorded. And you can see here it goes up in altitude, and then comes back down and lands. And then after it lands, it's right here, and it drives itself back to the flag, and that's 7.25 kilometers. How far is that in miles? 4 or 5 miles. That's quite a ways for that little thing to go. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to show you a little video of that coming back. In fact, here's some testing on it. Okay, there's a rover. They're testing on it. They're following it along. And it stopped. Why did it stop? They don't know. Yeah, the wind's blowing on it. So this guy goes out, says, what's the matter with you? Well, I don't know. Oh, guys, we're in trouble. We're supposed to fly that on a rocket and make it work. Okay, well, here's the guy that flew. 4, 3, 2, 1. Now they have a lot of trouble when they come down because they have a parachute on. They have a lot of trouble with them running over the parachute and getting tangled up. For some reason, they wrap this up in paper, and it looks like it has to find its way out of a paper bag. So watch it, everybody. And this is all autonomous. They programmed it to do this. And how it knows to do that, I don't know. But look, it sits there for a minute and starts thinking, and then pretty soon, I'll try this way. I'll try another way. Get out of here, paper bag. What do I do now? Go forward. Maybe if I go forward. Yeah, I don't know either. Go forward. Ah, there it is. But where did it go? Right over the top of the parachute. Unfortunately, it didn't get tangled up. Now look at it. It goes out there and says, oh, I'm going now, but now I've got to find out where's the flag. And it says, oh, the flag is that way. Okay, here I go. Da-da, da-da, da-da. Da-da-da-da-da. You think it run out of power. There it goes. Merrily across the desert, looking for the flag. Where's the flag? Must be this flag. And they had trouble, see those tracks? They had trouble with them getting stuck in the tracks that they were. And then they couldn't get back. But look, oh, there's the flag. It says, I think there's a flag around here someplace. Now look at it. It has to get within 50 meters, and it's well within 50 meters. So they're all excited.
It's coming! Hey, hey! みんな集まれ！ほら、Aチーム集まれ！But it's good. Now, the guys there in the picture, they're
I want to do is, in 2007, nobody did it. And things just didn't work right. 2008, there was a group that come that says, you know, there's some things that we need to fix with these rovers. One is we need to make them think a lot faster. And we need to make them go faster so that they get, you know, we're getting tired of chasing them back. So, they developed a new rover, looks about like the old ones, but one of the things that had to go over all these bumps. So here's a test when we're going over the bumps. Look at that. It gets out and it takes off. So go over all those bumps, no problem. All right? And then they get stuck in a rut. I'm out. Isn't that cool? All right. Now, how fast does it go? There it goes. They use it to exercise the students. So that's really perking along there, huh? And then, you know, running through the ruts, will it work? Now you got to remember, those things fit inside of this. That's how big they are. Okay. Now what I want to do is show you the one that actually was successful. It was that same one. And here's the video of that. Putting it in the carrier, putting it in the rocket, taking the rocket out of the launch pad, and then there it goes. It landed. There it is. Now they had it wrapped up a little different than the other. But it got out of its wrapping, and it said, I'm going back to that flag, and I'm not going to waste any time. So off it goes. Now watch this. This is the most amazing thing to me about the whole part. It says, I'm heading to the flag. Ooh, ruts. Whoop, 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 bang. Look what it does. Runs right up and runs into the flag. Is that the coolest thing you've ever seen? Now, are they happy? Yes, sir. They're really happy. Yes. What they do is they have a GPS in it, and they program in the location of the flag from the GPS. But the GPS is not that good. It can't get you within a foot of something. They ask the student when they do these presentations out there on the last day in the morning, we have a breakfast, and then the students all do a presentation on the project. Somebody asked the student that. They said, why did that thing run right up and run right into the flag? You know, how could it get that close? And the student said, well, what we did is we programmed it such that if it didn't get the flag, it would circle around and keep coming in closer and closer. But the guy said, yeah, run right up and run into the flag. It didn't circle around. He said, how did it do that? And the student thought for a minute and says, I don't know. Okay, things went well there. I want to show you some slides of a rocket launch that didn't go quite so well. This is a rocket that students down at Cal State Long Beach make. This is out of the Mojave Desert. There's the rocket. It is a big rocket. Okay, we had some dummy payloads in it. We had a CanSat, you can see there, and we had a thing the same size as a CubeSat. And the two holes that you can see there were our launcher holes. When it got up to apogee, we had a little computer that would detect that, and it would fire and blow those things out of that hole. What they did is they put some styrofoam plugs in that went. So they're getting the rocket ready here, and they do the countdown, and the rocket takes off. And that is so pretty. Look at it in the tail here. You can see those hypersonic waves in the tail. So pretty. Kept going, and all of a sudden the fin come off. It had a little problem. Look at the pieces come off of that thing. I just could not believe that. So here it comes down, all these pieces flying out of it. We think some of the pieces are our CubeSat. Hit the ground, very close to the launch thing, and that's what it looked like. That was our CubeSat dummy, and look, there's not even any parachute on it. It didn't get triggered out, it got thrown out. There's the nose cone. Really looks bad. Some of the pieces. And there's our launchers in there, and our electronics. Was this mission a failure?
Yeah.
No. Absolutely not. I think the students from the whole program learned a lot more than they would if it had been a successful mission. So one of the things that you need to remember is that working on your robots or your robotics or whatever you do, if it doesn't always work when you go to do your presentation, don't think it's a failure. Because what you learn is the most important part of that. Okay, let me get back here to this. How am I doing for time? Okay, here's some of the things that they flew that year. Here's the overview. Here are the rules. No human intervention. Evidence of control. GPS sensing is a major thing. They have things that are parafoil, fixed wing, hybrid rovers, all sorts of things. Look at some of these things. They've got fold-up airplanes that fit in them. These are things with parafoils that try to guide it back. They never work because we get too far from the launch site with the wind. But you can see here's some more of these. Here's some that are not come back, they're just CanSats. And here's the rovers. And this was the only one that made it back. So you can see some of how many we flew there. Total that we did was we flew 40 rockets that year. And it's open to anybody who wants to come fly. The only thing that you pay for is you pay for the cost of the motor. If you use the whole carrier, the cost of the motor is $400. If you use a third of the carrier, I think it's $135. They have smaller rockets to fly something. And we do this in September every year, so it's really a pretty good event. And this is the 11th year we've been doing that. And last year there were over 120 people that come, I think like 80 students, so it's getting a big event. One of the things that I'm involved with is working on satellites. How big are satellites? Anybody ever seen a satellite? They're small? Well, satellites come in all sizes. Here's a satellite. This is called a CubeSat. And it's what a lot of universities are building now. And what we do is everybody builds one that's this size, and they put in these carriers, they strap them on rockets. But what I want to know is, do we have any satellite catchers be a satellite catcher? Should I make the same guys do it that did it before? Oh, you want to be a satellite catcher? Oh, please, come on up. Come on up. Pick one of your friends. I need 2 satellite catchers. Come on. Pick a friend. Okay. Now I want this front row to be the backup crew. If they don't catch it, you've got to do it, right? Okay, so let's go over to the side here. Come on, all of you. Come on. Form a row right. Come on over here. Come on, Mark. Okay, now, I have 2 in here, right? When I let them go, you take the top one, and you catch the bottom one. And they'll go up about that high, okay? So, let's see, move over a little bit here. And I'm going to kind of send them that way. So you come over here, right about here. Okay, now, is the catcher crew ready in case they miss?
Yes.
Don't they look ready?
Yes.
Aren't they excited? Are you excited? No. You excited? Because these come roaring out of there. And if you miss, I haven't seen the student from the last time we did this. The funniest Okay, move up here real close, because these are going to come out, and you've got to reach out and grab them. Are you ready? You don't look ready. I think you've got to get your hands up like there's a baseball coming right for your face. Are you ready? Get your hands up. All right. These come out of here really fast now. Are you ready? Are you ready? Okay. Why are you guys freaking quiet? Okay, come on. Are you ready? If you don't catch them, you know how much these things cost a piece? You're going to pay all. $1,500. If they hit the floor, guess what? You bought one. Get up here close. Come on. I think you'd want to stand really close. You don't? Are you ready? I don't think you are. Stand up here close. All right. Are you ready? They come out of there awfully fast. You better get your hands up. Huh? You get the top one, you get the bottom. All right? Are you ready? Okay. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire. Come back here. You were so surprised when we got to 0. Should we do it again? Who wants to try it? You want to try it? No. Anybody else want to try it? No? Give him a hand. Okay, we decided that the students complained about those weren't big enough to put anything in. And I said, forget it. How much electronics have you got in your cell phone these days? Just tons of electronics, right? I said, forget it. Because you can do that. So those are our 10-centimeter cubes. Now here's a quiz for you. If I've got a 10-centimeter cube, how much water can that hold? 10 centimeters. Good. How much does 10 centimeters cube? How many cubic centimeters?
1,000.
1,000. How much does 1,000 cc's of water weigh? It's a liter, but how much does it weigh? 1 kilogram. See, now you've got to deal in metrics, right? That's those guys over across the pond have that funny units. Okay. But we decided that, hey, that was too big, so instead of a 10 centimeter cube, we're going to make a 5 centimeter. So we want students to build satellites that are that big and fly. Why? Because it costs a lot of money to launch these things. Why not put 8 of these things together and pay the same cost, and you get your cost way down? So that's what we've done. We've built these things such that if you put 8 of them together, they're exactly the same size as that, and you put them in there and launch them the same way you do the others. So we wanted to think of a name that we could call this thing. When I say CubeSat, nobody knows what size it is. So we said, we're going to give it a name that we can understand. So we give it the name Pocket Cube. Why? Fits in your pockets, right? And then when you go to impress your girlfriends, you can pull this out and set it on the table and say, hey, babe, you want it? So it fits in your pocket. All right. So we put 8 of them together, and we use this launch thing. That's about what it would look like. Okay. I have one more thing that I want to pass around. And it's something, I know this is probably too simple for this group of guys, but here's something that you might want to think about building. It is probably the most useless thing that's ever been built. But I wanted something that students could start with that had light, had sound, and had motion. So I'm going to give this to you, and if you, now watch how far he comes off his seat when he presses the button. Look how reluctant he is. See this little button? Make him push the button. Push the button. Push the button. Yeah, right in the middle, right there. Just push it. Let Garrett push the button. No, it's a little bit right there. What does it do? Yeah, I told you it had motion. This little thing is called a buzzball. And I wanted something you put together that was just, it was totally enclosed, because I built other things called cricket sats that have radios on and you fly them on balloons. But I am really surprised, because everybody that I've seen build one of these, the first time that they press that button, they really get excited, you know. And I was at a school down in Southern California, and I had 110 students that I did this with. This guy had 2 chemistry classes and 2 physics classes, and I spent 4 days there working with him. The last day we were finally in the lab and soldering together, and all of a sudden, over across the room we hear, and then hear a big yell. It's not working. And pretty soon there was another one, and you hear it. And pretty soon around the room, all over the place they were going. Then we went out for lunch, and all around the campus you'd hear that. You know, the students got the biggest kick out. And this one little girl could come to me, and she says, Professor Twigs, I think I want to be a scientist. But, you know, it was building something. That's what you like, right? Are you afraid of this now? Okay. Well, press it a couple times and pass it on. Kind of cool, huh? I asked the guy afterwards, I said, what did the parents think of that when they sent it home? And he said, this one mother got so tired of it, she grabbed it and threw it across the room. So it isn't always, you know, it isn't always that. And so I think I'm out of time, and I've told you about all of the lies I can tell you. But robotics is cool, right?